What up guys, it's Dragon Ball Fly here today and I'm back with another video. Now today's video we're going to be going through Jabber and Goon's video called Why Superman vs. Goku Was Never Close. Now just like in the Orange Piccolo versus the Thing video, I have quite a bit of, disagreements on this video. I feel like this one has a little bit better points than that one because that one he was just stating, Ben Goon beat this character, Ben Goon beat that character. He didn't go into any real feats that he accomplished. He just beat certain characters or fought a character. Like, he hit that guy that put him through that time, in the future where they're all dead. And he's like, he didn't hurt the guy, obviously. He just hit him. So what? That doesn't mean anything. But this one, he put more evidence and feats in it, especially when it came to talking about Goku's power. Because in that one, he didn't really go in depth on Piccolo, what he could do, but he did explain that he did in this video, which he did. And like I said, I already checked this video out before, doing these reaction right now. So I know what his, his train of thought was in this video and what he was going through. I just want to say this, that I did skip halfway through the video because half of the video is him explaining Goku's power and putting him on outer-versal level, which I've stated already in my last video that I don't think Goku's outer-versal level. I put him at high, multiversal level, which he did too. He just said that to rank him up to highest, to showcase how much more powerful Superman is, he put him at the highest at outer-versal and showed why Superman would be outer-versal. So when it comes to the Goku side, I just completely skipped it. We're only going to be focusing on Superman's feats because I think that's more important. Like I said, I would just put him at high multiversal level. So yeah, let's get into it.
It's not enough when it comes to Superman. Let's go through the horrors and chaos of matching up with Superman. First of all, specifically given, if we're all being honest, this battle and dispute really was made viral and famous by Death Battle. The premise was both at their peak, going all out. Superman, even at his perceived weakest points, which, for example, a lot of people in the general community consider New 52 his weakest. Even New 52 has feats of creation busting and leveling characters on a physical, metaphysical, and beyond degree with no issues whatsoever. Why is this insane? The scaling of creation in DC is very complex and has several layers. There's obviously the infinite multiverse, which has infinite statements, which in itself, bare minimum, you could get the regular universe, and subsequent multiverse, the hyperversal or high hyper. You have realms beyond that, the bleed, which gets to outer. Then beyond that, there's realms like the God Sphere, the Sphere of the Gods, which are archetypal in nature, at least bare minimum outerversal. There's also realms like Limbo, that scale above narratives and stories. We have several layers into outer, just easily scaling. And Superman at his peak has scaled to some of the higher tiers and higher layers of scaling within the cosmology. For example, he was able to break the World Forger, which was several layers into outerversal. On top of this, he's fought True Form Darkseid a multitude of times, taken on a Darkseid that scaled the True Form, or taken on a Doomsday that scaled the True Form Darkseid and above. On top of this, Superman has straight up scared Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan was not quite sure how to overcome his power.
Okay, he said a lot of things and a lot of impressive feats. Now this one I've actually had quite a bit of an argument back and forth about, with the whole him beating the World Forger where he knocked him out in that punch. Somebody states, and he was being very respectful, he said, I respect your opinion, but I think Superman you're underestimating him because he took out the World Forger, which it's, outer-versal level of power because he's creating these, universes and timelines. He doesn't destroy the timelines, he creates them. His mom, Perpetua, she's the one who basically is doing the destruction and stuff, but the World Forger is the one who's creating it. So people put him at outer-versal levels of power, and since Superman one-shotted him, that would put Superman at outer-versal levels of power, right? But for me personally, I just feel like they didn't showcase or gone in depth enough with, the World Forger and what he's capable of. They just said that he makes the timeline. They keep on recreating the timelines and destroying them. But just because you create something doesn't mean that you're that powerful, you know? That's just his job as a god. His job is to create universes and stuff like that. Because if Superman was on that level of power, he wouldn't have struggled against Mxyzptlk ever. Let's be honest. Mxyzptlk is a fifth dimensional imp, and Superman came from the sixth dimension just to knock him out. Now, some of you guys are going to say, well, isn't that impressive that he was able to knock him out, break out of the sixth dimension? Well, here's the thing. The only reason he was able to break out of it is because he got some multiple sun amps in the sixth dimension. And you can say, well, that's just him normally getting his power back because he was getting drained. But my argument for that is, since this is in the sixth dimension and like how in the fifth dimension, science doesn't work the same. It's more impressive and more advanced. Most likely the stars that are in that sixth dimension have more of a ridiculous power amp and reality warping power amp than you would have in the regular universe that he would get his power from. So that's the only reason I would see him being able to break through the sixth dimensional universe, was because he got a power amp from the sixth dimensional stars that were within it. So that's why. Because normally he's not on that level, because he's even stated he can't beat Mxyzptlk. He has to play the game with him every time I'm saying his name, making him say his name to beat him. He can't beat him through physical means. If you looked in the it was the, what's the thing called? I forgot what it was called. It was the Joker storyline, where basically Joker tricks Mxyzptlk and takes his power. Emperor Joker, yeah. It was the Emperor Joker storyline where he took all of Mxyzptlk's power because he tricked him and took it for himself. And as he was doing this, he was basically torturing, he was torturing Batman, and he was going to destroy the multiverse. He was basically messing with it because Joker, in his mind, he feels that the world is disgusting. He hates it, and he's just sick and tired of it, and he wants to wipe out all of existence. He's like, if I wipe out all existence, then there'll be no more suffering. So he was planning to wipe out the multiverse. He obviously, Mxyzptlk's power is above multiversal level, but what he was showcasing right there, what he was doing with multiversal level, and Superman was talking to him. He's like, hey, what the hell? He's like, wait, he's gonna destroy the multiverse, but you've never been that powerful. And then he's like, Mxyz like, dude, you really think I've been using that level of power against you? You idiot. I've always had this level of power. I just use a bit of my power to mess with you. You're not really on my level, so I mess around with you with a little bit. I don't need to go all out. I'm not trying to destroy all of creation. I'm just trying to have some fun. Joker, on the other hand, he doesn't care. He wants to wipe things out. So that was the difference. So yeah, he's usually, like, not even usually, all the time when he fights against Mxyzptlk, is basically Mxyzptlk using a portion of his power, messing around with Superman. Superman's never been even able to see his true power until that event. Before that, he just assumed that he was powerful, but not that powerful, until Joker took it, and then he was like, yeah, I've always been this powerful. It's just that I like to mess around. I'm not really serious. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, and I'm trying to mess with you. I've always used a fraction of my power. You're just an idiot. You couldn't tell that I wasn't really going out all out against you. So Superman cannot beat Mxyzptlk, even when he's using a fraction of his power, fucking around with him. He has to play that game. Yet you're telling me that he could easily break out a six-dimensional, universe, which even Mxyz said he can't even enter in it because it's a dimensional tier above him. So he couldn't even enter in it, but Superman broke out. Do you think it's because Superman is that powerful, or maybe there was an amp that gave him that level of power that would also give him the power to knock out the World Forger? So he probably got a six-dimensional amp that gave him power of six-dimensional above a World Forger. So, like I said, if he was that levels of power, he would have been able to beat Mxyzptlk without having to play this game. Mxyzptlk wouldn't have to hold back against Superman to beat him then, if he was that powerful. So that's obviously not true, and that's not Superman's power naturally. Also, by that logic, since Superman got his power from the sixth dimension and broke out, that means that the World Forger would be around like maybe fifth dimensional, below sixth dimensional, because he got one shot at. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. Also, a lot of comic books, the writers are not thinking like us. They're not thinking like us. We're like, oh, this character created a universe, so that means, or universes, so that means they're multiversal level of power, and to beat them, you have to be on that level. Let's think about it reasonably. The writers are basically just saying, hey, this is a fun story, we'll do this, he's forging it, and then he has to come beat him. And it's not like he just magically sticks his hands out and recreates the universes. He has to use a hammer, and then he has to work like an actual person, like an actual blacksmith. So it's obviously a little bit wonky logic in that whole story there. But there was also a little bit more he said prior to that, which... he states that he beat Darkseid. He says that he beat Darkseid's true form. He's fought him multiple times and beaten him, and beaten a Doomsday that beaten Darkseid's true form. Now, that one was just a flat-out lie. Darkseid, the only time he's shown his true form was in I forgot what was it called, the Final Crisis event. That was the first time we saw it, because before that, there was arguments or theories as, the Darkseids that we see are just avatars, and there's a real true form of him. But we've never ever seen the real version of him until then, where he was falling down, dying, and he was going to destroy the entire multiverse. It was collapsing in on him, the weight of his death, right? And that was the first time we saw it. So him saying that Superman has fought him before, no, he hasn't. That was the only time we saw him. And even after that event, we don't get a mention of True Form's Darkseid again until they get to the Frontier story event now, and they changed up the concept again, because before they're like he doesn't have a physical form, he's a conceptual being, so he's basically a construct being, so he doesn't have a physical form. Then the Frontier, they showed him he's still has a physical form. He looks like regular Darkseid, but just bigger and with like mammoth tusks. So because there's inconsistent with the truth. They have sometimes they write some lore and then they change it up, so they retcon a lot. Comic books is very inconsistent, it's very retconny. So he stated that he fought a true form Darkseid before multiple times. No, he hasn't. The first time he showed up was in the Final Crisis event, which happens way, way after all these other events. And the argument the fans have been saying is, every time Superman has fought, Darkseid, or we've seen Darkseid, it's been his avatar. So no, he didn't fight True Form Darkseid, he fought Darkseid's avatar. And the one where Doomsday beat Darkseid, this was well before the Final Crisis event, so he once again also beat an avatar. So no, Superman's had multiple encounters with Darkseid's avatar, and Doomsday has beaten Darkseid's avatar, but they never fought his true form. His true form was only shown in Final Crisis, and now in the Frontier story event, which Superman hasn't fought him yet in that one. And he did beat some very powerful cosmic beings, which he does talk about later on in this video. But Superman hasn't fought that one, so you can't compare him to that level of power. So yes, he 100% lied in this. He never fought True Form Darkseid. True Form Darkseid has barely been shown. Those are the avatars.
He helped fight back against the Great Darkness. The Great Darkness being the opposite to the Presence, and has high outerversal avatars like Empty Hand, Darkseid, Superboy Prime, and whatnot. The power of hope, also stated by Pariah, was beyond any power he had seen, this power including the Great Darkness he had wielded.
When he fought this Great Darkness, did he beat it, or was it just because writers sometimes write these story narrative stuff where they're able to beat it with the hope of people. It's kind of like in anime where they have the power of friendship or love. So it's not really his power that's beating it, it's the fact that he has great strength of hope and people have faith in him that gives him that power. It's not really his power that's defeating this entity, it's the hope that comes with it. So I don't really agree with that. Also, Superboy Prime is not that powerful. I've already made a whole video on how powerful he is, and I've gone in depth in what he was capable of doing, and I showed the contradictions in there, that argument. So if you want to disagree with that, go check out that video, and then you'll see my point there.
Overall, Superman has just stupid scaling, everything from taking Darkseid, sealing him at the source wall, which is several just... Even if you say Goku has a relevant speed, it's just several degrees higher within that tier for Superman in terms of speed feats compared to Goku. Absolutely blitz fucks him. There's just...
That doesn't make any sense. So he's saying that Superman has shoved Darkseid into the source wall. He's flown over there and threw him right in there, which is leagues above Goku's, even if you want to say he has infinite speed or whatever. Why is that above that? What he's making it sound like is the source wall is in a completely another, outside of the multiverse as a whole. And it kind of is, but it's kind of not. What is the source wall? That's the real main question. Now, the source wall is basically the ends and the barriers of, the DC universes and the multiverse as a whole. It's basically DC writing saying that there's other fictional worlds out there, and, the one above, not one above, the Presence is the god of, the DC universe and the DC, cosmology. He basically rules it. But there's beings and there's other universes like Marvel, Supernatural, Dragon Ball, Breaking Bad. There's other universes outside of it, so other fictional realms that exist outside, and the source wall basically traps the DC universe within itself, and those other universes, it does not connect to it, because you can't have a guy that's a godly being that controls the entire DC universe, but he can't control other universes because it would basically infringe on the writer's perspective. Now, why am I explaining this? Because the source wall is on the boundaries of every realm. It's there, so it contains them within it. So the DC universe also has a source wall at the end of the universe. You don't have to go to another dimension to get to the source wall. All you would have to do is get to the end of the universe, because you're not allowed to go outside that. Then you'll go to another fictional realm. So it would basically be Superman going from one end of his universe to the opposite end, which would be where the source wall is. Why is that, on that level? Because that's supposed to be beyond time and stuff like that. That really isn't. Yes, the DC universe is big, is 100 trillion light years across, but it's not infinite in size. They literally stated a numerical value on it. They stated it's 100 trillion light years. It's big, but like I said, not infinite. And unless if he was saying that, well, he was able to fly out of the universe and go through multiple dimensions instantly and get to there, to the source wall, because that's where the source wall is, then he would have an argument. But you can get to the end of the source wall by just going to the edge of the universe, which at most you would just have to, if you're going from one end to the other, you would just have to go 100 trillion light years across, which is still impressive, but not that impressive as what he was placing it at. Also, he didn't mention where did Superman send Darkseid from to there. Like, was he way far away? He could have been 10% of the universe away to there. So, yeah, this argument is stupid. This is what I mean by you need to have more context. And when you hear the context behind how the source wall works, is basically the edge and the boundaries of all realms. So it would be in the universe itself. So him flying there would not put him at that level. It would put him many, many times the faster than speed of light. But that wouldn't put him at, beyond time or, infinity either, because he's not going to outside the bounds of infinity. He possibly can, but that argument doesn't make sense.
Nothing. Even like the new 52 Superman that's serious, the one that busted through Phantom Stranger, who literally could seal the cracks in creation beyond Limbo, beyond all that, fought Spectre 1v1, who's fought Michael before. He did all this, and Superman one-shot him. I mean, he was like, his aura is beyond even power.
Okay, he stated that he beat the Spectre and he one-shot him. Where's the evidence? You have all these other images. Where's the evidence of him one-shotting the Spectre? Also, I've stated before, Spectre's power kind of fluctuates. We've seen Hal Jordan beating up the Spectre. We've seen Batman literally kick the Spectre in the face, and you see him just like move to the side and getting hit. Batman's a human. Hal Jordan is strong, but he's not that powerful. Sometimes the Spectre is not that powerful with the way they show him, so I wouldn't go based with that too much. He says I forgot his name is Phantom Ghost or whatever his name is. He does show this, but let me go back to it, because there's something important you need to read. He says he breaks through him, and it is true. It says right here, I watch in amazement as he does the impossible, bursting through both the physical and metaphysical aspects of my form. The son of Krypton may not be supernatural in conventional sense, but he's the focus of millions of minds and hearts that look to him as embodiment of their faith, belief, and hope in creating a mass and psychic energy around Superman. Now, why is that important? He didn't beat him through his sheer power. What it explains right here is the fact that since he's a symbol of hope, since he's a symbol of heroics, the people, the humans, their faith and their belief in Superman, their love for him, they believed in him, their hope and their faith gave him power that basically gave him a protection around him to be able to accomplish this. Superman didn't accomplish this through his physical power. He was able to accomplish this by the love and dedication and faith and hope of the people. And why is this important? If you know anything about the DC cosmology, one of the most powerful things in the DC cosmology is, and it's stated to be even above the presence, is the hope of the people. So if the people believe in it, then that power makes it true. So the fact that the people believe that Superman can do it, that means that it becomes true. It doesn't become true because Superman accomplished it through his own feats. It was with the people. If the people didn't have faith in Superman, if they didn't, look at him as a symbol of hope, he wouldn't have been able to accomplish this. He didn't accomplish this through sheer power or some magical ability he has or some hex ability. He did this because of the people. It literally says, but the focus of millions of minds and hearts that look at him as the embodiment of their faith, belief, and hope, creating a massive psychic energy around him. So basically, like how we believe in God and stuff like that, it basically gives power to it. So believing in Superman and having all this faith and hope in him gives him the power and basically creates this psychic energy barrier around him to be able to punch them. So this is why it's important to read these stuff. When you have the context, it makes more sense. Just saying, well, he punched through metaphysical and physical, is like, whoa, he's really that level. But then when you see the rest, it's like, oh, it's because the people believed in him. If they didn't believe in him, he wouldn't have been able to do it. So this is kind of how you basically take it out of context and manipulate people. So yeah, you have to read really carefully. Sometimes people fall for it like that. But yeah, let's go back. He says right here that, he's able to create the fabric of reality and fix it. I don't know what's happening here specifically. If you guys have, where the comic book issue is, specifically where this came from, because he doesn't really, put any references where he got it from, put it down in the comment section below so I can check it out. But from what it seems, this is not Superman himself. This is the future descendant of Superman. I forgot what year it was in. It was like decades. Not decades. It was like thousands of years in the future. And he has this power where he can connect to the universe and stuff like that. So it's not Superman doing this. It's his descendant doing it. And also on top of it, his power is directly linked to, static electricity of the universe. So obviously he can patch it up. That's his power. Like what the fuck? He's not doing it through sheer strength. He's just doing it because that's a technique and ability he naturally has.
Or he did all this, and Superman one-shot him. I mean, he was like, his aura is beyond even power granted from heaven. It's crazy. Like, the power of belief and hope is that absurd. Sandman himself, Morpheus, has referenced it in regards to an opposite that's superior to oblivion or death or the darkness beyond everything, nothingness.
Like I said, it's not through sheer power, it's through the hope. The way the DC cosmology is written is of the most power that comes from, like, the biggest level of power and energy is from the hearts and the minds of the people. So if the people believe in something, they have truly faith in it, it's like, believing in God and giving like divinity. So they're basically taking that concept and saying, if they truly believe in somebody, then they get more power from it. So since Superman is literally like the golden boy of DC, the poster boy of it, and he's basically the quintessential like symbol of hope as a superhero, obviously he would get those powers that rivals that. So he himself has exposed why Superman is able to accomplish these crazy feats. It's not because he is doing it through sheer power. He's doing it because people believe in him. Of the people of DC didn't believe in him, the humans who are really giving him the power, if they didn't believe in him, he wouldn't have been able to accomplish this. So he's getting his power from the people, not from himself or even the sun. That's just how they write in DC. Dragon Ball, that's not how it works. Just because people believe in Goku and say, oh, he's the hope of the universe or whatever, is not going to give him any power. In DC, that's how it works. The hope and faith of people transcends the power itself. Any insane abstract power can be transcended by the hope of people. That's why he's beating it. It's not like he's doing it. In Dragon Ball, that's not how it works. You can't just beat a multiversal level being by having people believe in you and faith in you. Unless you're drawing their energy from them directly, like how he does with the Spirit Bomb, but that's different. That's them giving up life energy. And I will go towards the end of the video, so stay towards the end of the video when this is done. I'll talk about why Superman is not on outerversal levels of of power, and I'll go into the logic of why I think that.
Overall, what's this mean? This means even with the most fair, liberal scaling we could give to Goku, getting him to outerversal, it's not enough. Because if we're being honest, all-out serious Superman on the other side of the table, especially if we're giving him his high-tier scaling, absolutely shit stomps at this degree as well. I feel like it was never really close. When it comes to low ends, mid end, high end, I feel like Superman has always taken it, has been comfortably above. I've always understood.
So that's Jabber and Goon's video called Why Superman vs. Goku Was Never Close. His biggest argument is, I used the weakest version of Superman, New 52 Superman, and he was able to be constructual beings that are, beyond multiversal levels of power and outerversal levels of power and multiple layers of it. So Goku can't handle him. He can handle that in even the weakest form, so he can't handle any versions of him. But that's not the weakest version of Superman. The weakest version is Golden Age Superman, which he couldn't even fly in that one. He was strong enough to lift up ships and faster than a speeding bullet, but he wasn't that powerful. So that's the weakest version. But New 52 does have some impressive feats, but I also do think that he's taken out of context, and what he was explaining towards the ending, it proved why I don't think he's as powerful. And I'm just going to go into it again. So he states that Superman fought Darkseid's true form many times. Even Doomsday's beaten Darkseid's true form, and Superman has beaten him. Like I said, that's not true. All those instances where we saw Darkseid fight against Superman, that was his avatar. The only time we saw a true form Darkseid was in Final Crisis, which came out, I think, in 2015 or 16. I don't really care. But it came out way, way after all those events happened. And it was stated that this is the first time that we've seen him, his actual physical form. And then now in the Frontier, they have him back again as a giant, mammoth with like tusks and stuff like that in his physical form. So that's also true form Darkseid. They retcon a lot, so they change him from like this being of construct to back to a physical being. So it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, Superman still hasn't fought him, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, he lied completely in that one. That was not, his avatar. Then he wanted to make the argument about he beat Spectre and stuff and one-shot him. He didn't show where he got that from. He stated he beat all these other beings, the darkness and all that stuff. And he even said he beat the Phantom Stranger. That's what his name was. He said he beat the Phantom Stranger. But like I said, when you look at the context, what it was explaining was the reason why he was able to break through him, and they explained specifically, was due to the fact that he has the hearts and minds of millions of people. They believe in him. They have, they have faith in him. They have belief in him, and they have hope in him, which gave him this psychic barrier protecting around his body to be able to destroy him. And that's what's helped him out to beat these, constructual beings that normally he shouldn't be able to beat. It was because of the faith. And like I explained, the biggest form of power or source of power in the DC cosmology and the way it's written is the belief and faith and heart and soul in of the people in DC. In Dragon Ball, that's not how it works. In other fictional universes, that's not how it works. So the only reason Superman is able to achieve insane feats on that level is because that's how it's written in their world, where if you get the faith in them, you can accomplish great stuff. So even if you're a character that's way weaker than Superman, if they have faith and belief in you, you can surpass, insane levels of power. But in other fictional universes, you can't surpass those insane levels of power of people having faith in you. Them believing in you and having faith in you might give you the strength to keep on fighting, but it won't give you some, additional outsourced energy that protects you and gives you an unfair, power boost. And then the whole Forger thing, like I said, the writing there was pretty wonky. The World Forger, there's a couple of things that you go into that in that discussion. One, like I said, it was Superman. The only reason he broke out of the sixth dimension because of the suns. The suns were six-dimensional stars. We know in the fifth dimension, the world works there differently. The science there is different. So I'm pretty sure the science in the sixth dimension should be even more wackier than even the fifth dimension. So it's not like regular suns. These are six-dimensional suns that he imagined them, and they give him the power. So that's why he was able to break out. Because normally he's not even on Mixiospitalik's level of power, which he's a fifth-dimensional imp, and he's always used a fraction of his power. So he used a fraction of his fifth-dimensional powers to beat Superman, right? And to the point where when Emperor Joker happened and he was using his full strength, the full extent of his power, he was like, wait, you've never been multiversal level? And he's like, dude, I've been messing with you. I've never been wanting to go that far. You're just an idiot. You just haven't seen my full power. So that little amount of power has been dogging Superman for the longest time. The only reason that Superman would be able to break out of the sixth dimension, even a dimension that the fifth dimensional imp can't break out of, the only reasonable argument you can make is the suns there are giving him a sixth dimensional amp in power, right? Because if not, then why would, Mixiospitalik be using only a fraction of his power against Superman? And why would that fraction of power be enough to mess with Superman? He should have been way above him then, right? Normally he should be above that, if that's the case. but he's not. Maybe in this instance, that's what happened. Also, that could be a reason why he knocked out the World Forger. But also, the World Forger, just because he recreates his universes doesn't mean he can just easily do it, because like I said, he uses a hammer and he still bangs around and has to do it like a normal person, like how they would forge stuff to create these worlds. And just because he creates them doesn't mean that he can destroy them, because people say that same thing with Zeno. They're like, just because he rules these universes and destroys them doesn't mean he's that powerful. But when it comes to him, they're like, oh yeah, he has to be at that level. It is wonky, I would say, but like I said, if that was the case, one thing that means that the World Forger is weaker than a six-dimensional being, because if Superman broke out of that would make him a six-dimensional being. So he's below that. So he would be around Mixius level of power, which would put him a lot weaker than people try to put him up as. Also, if Superman broke out of the sixth dimension and Mixius Spitalik couldn't go into it, but Mixius is beating his ass every time while holding back and casually, and he has to play this game just to be able to handle him, and even admitted that, hey, you've never been this powerful. If that was the case, then how is Superman doing it? So I think the only reason he did is because the sun's there that gave him that power amp. Because normally he's not that level of power. Now, talking about Superman being universal, if he's that level of power, then how come when there's threats that are universal level or multiversal level in nature, Superman can't handle it on his own? When fighting against, the antimatter, I mentioned before, the antimatter, the way he destroys the universe is he used antimatter machines that pump antimatter from his universe into the positive matter. They collide with each other, cancel each other out, racing those universes, then giving that power to his dimension, getting it more powerful and getting him more powerful. Yet, when he fought against him, even pre-Crisis Superman, which is one of the most powerful versions of Superman, even with pre-Crisis Superman, fighting him, and he couldn't beat him. He had to have the whole Justice League and all these other guys to beat him. And this guy was wiping out each universe one by one by using a machine, not through his own power. So he wasn't that powerful enough, and it took a chain reaction to do it. So if Superman was universal, he should have been able to beat him easily, right? He said, well, Darkseid, fought against the Antimatter into a standstill. Once again, the Antimatter was only able to do that through the machines, and on top of it, he was wiping out the universes one by one. He could have, if he was really that powerful, he should have been able to wipe them all out at once. So, yeah, I don't really agree with that, and Mixius naturally messes with him. Also, he didn't fight against Darkseid's true form. He fights against his avatar, but he's always gotten struggles to beat his avatars. He does win sometimes, but he also is a back and forth fight between his avatars, which aren't that level of power. So, where's your argument there? So yeah, I just don't think Superman's on that level of power, because if he was, so many of these threats wouldn't be such a big threat. Like I said, Antimatter wouldn't have been that big of a threat. Darkseid wouldn't have been that big of a threat. Even Mixius Spitalik wouldn't have been that big of a threat. If he can knock out Forger and stuff, World Forger, you guys believe he's on that level of power, then shouldn't he be able to contest with or beat Mixius? Then how come Mixius is beyond him? How come Doomsday is able to hurt him, but Doomsday doesn't show those levels of power himself? I just feel like it's BS, so yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.